In this video, we're sharing our latest iced pour-over recipe. Welcome, my name is Patrick Rolfe and this is Coffee with April. For this episode, we're gonna keep it short. We're gonna show you our latest iced pour-over recipe because the summer is about to come. It's not quite here in Copenhagen, but we thought it would be fun to actually share it. So we're just gonna walk you through it. It's quite simple. Before we start, I just want to say that we're actually using the second generation of April plastic brewer, which is one, a new color, but two, most importantly, a new plastic. And we're basically test running this brewer here in our own bar, brewing a few hundred pour-overs every week to make sure that we have no issues with that. And then once it has passed our quality control, we're going to be launching it. But yes, it goes without saying that this is what we're going to use to brew our pour-overs with. So first thing first, we're using 13 grams of coffee, and we're actually using our SP range of coffee. And there's a reason for this, because we tried both the April Selection Limited and our Espresso range to do iced coffees. And we just found that a lighter roasted coffee just didn't perform as well as we wanted to. Having something with a little bit more character, a little bit more development actually generated a much more balanced and sweeter cup of coffee, and the ice and the dilution that comes with that actually still generated a very kind of flavorful taste experience. So this is the SP Ecuador, which is a little lot of 660 kilo Ethiopia Atypica varietal, natural processed exclusively for us here at April. So that's what we're using. Step two, we need ice. So we're gonna start by adding 85 grams of ice to the cups that we're gonna brew directly into. Now, naturally, the amount of ice has a major impact here. So you can always kind of change up the recipe to whatever you think is the most suiting. But for us, this is kind of where we find the best kind of balance, right? So, as we always do here at April, we're gonna brew directly into the cup. The water that we're using, so it's at 91 degrees Celsius. If you make that 92, 93, 94, it doesn't have that much of an impact. The pouring structure is gonna be a little bit different. So we're gonna start by pouring 30 grams of water, which is a bit less than what we normally do, right? We're gonna let that sit for 35 seconds. And then we're gonna pour 100 grams of water. And that's basically the final pour. So we're pouring 130 grams of water here in total. Now, one of the things you have to be very careful with when you use this little amount of water in the first pour is to make sure that that coffee gets evenly saturated, right? One of the reasons why we do the initial pour, 100 pour, is because we want to make sure that all of that coffee actually get wet, so that when we brew multiple cups, it's actually a lot more uniform. So the next pour is basically 100 gram continuous, right? And what we're looking for is 130 of total brew water. We tried that with a few different kind of recipes, and we found that this is really what we kind of ended up thinking is the most balanced. One of the key things here as well is grinding. Grinding that we work with is basically our normal kind of filter grind, which kind of leaves us somewhere between 600 and 700 microns, a little bit depending on coffee. The SP range is a little bit, or has a little bit more roast character, which means it's gonna have a flow rate that is a little bit faster. So that's something that we also try to kind of counterbalance and make sure that we still get a little bit of strength, right? Because we are clearly diluting this over ice, right? Which is going to bring down the temperature, giving us this kind of really refreshing and nice drink, but obviously also take away some of the strength. I think it's important when you look at iced coffees that you can't really compare them taste-wise to a hot brewed cup of coffee, because it's going to taste different. It's hard to get the same amount of nuances. And the way that we're looking at it is just kind of trying to find one or two notes in the coffee that we really enjoy, right? That's why we decided to have one specific coffee for our ice drinks, right? So we're not offering multiple different coffees, but we're doing this coffee exclusively, both on espresso based, but also on filter based. So at 220, we have all of the water that basically gone through. So we're gonna lift it off. At this point, obviously, we're gonna have a lot of the ice already diluted. We see some of the ice still here. What kind of ice you use is very important, right? So we're using fairly large ice cubes, properly made, basically meaning that they're going to be a little bit more heat resistant than other ice, right? So if you use a really low quality ice, that's going to dissolve really quickly, hence not taste so good, right? So the final step here, because if we touch the cups here, we can feel that they're cold, but they're a little bit just basically lower than room temperature. So before we serve, we would add another 40 grams of ice. And after we've done that, it's always important to, again, just let this sit for just half a minute or so. That's gonna have that dilute as well, and it's gonna become really refreshing and really tasty. So that's about it, basically. What we're looking for here is a very kind of refreshing cup of filter coffee. That's the key thing here, right? And we're getting the flavor notes out of the coffee, which in this case is a lot of kind of red plum nougaty vibe to it. We chose to work with the SP range because we realized that a little bit more of a development on the coffee, not a burnt coffee, but a little bit more developed coffee, actually goes better with this kind of lower temperature. It can handle the dilution that comes with the ice a lot better. So that's how we kind of make our perfect iced coffee for the summer. With that, as always, if you have any questions, if you have any recommendations on ice pour overs, we tend to stay away from cold brew in this channel because no one here likes cold brew, to be fair, so let's not talk about that. But if you have any recommendations on just ice pour over, that's always super interesting for us. And maybe you have a special recipe you use at home that you want to share, then please just comment down below. As always, we're going to take this to Patreon, do some interesting stuff there, so make sure you follow. And with that, we just want to thank you for watching and wish you a great day. We want to give a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to continue to make these videos. And we want you all to feel free to always come with suggestions and ideas on the content that you want to see, because we are doing this for you and because of you. Thank you from all of us here at April.